Hi there, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Snake with Legs, and this is a basic guide to using astrology practically, at least that I've found. You'll learn the basic language of astrology and how to understand and apply it in a way that actually improves your relationships, your art if you're creative, your work, and your ability to transform yourself. If you're watching this, I'm going to assume you have a slightly above average knowledge of astrology and are here to put it into practice. That being said, I am going to go over the fundamental structure just so we're all on the same page. Then we'll get into more practical stuff. One last thing to understand is that people are full of contradictions and idiosyncrasies. No one theory or methodology can truly express what it is to be a living person. I think that is amazing, and I let that knowledge push me to keep learning, developing my perception of myself and others. Okay, so what is astrology? Astrology is the philosophical language of nature and natural cycles. By understanding things through the language of astrology, we can see things that we normally can't. The main principle of astrology is correspondence. Each symbol has many other things that it represents. The main symbols of astrology are the big three: the sun, moon, and ascendant. Most people, when they are talking about their sign, are talking about their sun sign. The sun is what's most visible. This is related to the ego and our desires. The moon is what's hidden, and everything else related to the moon. Cycles, the nighttime, emotions, needs, fears, instincts. The ascendant is, put simply, the persona you show to the world, or the first impression. The ascendant is basically what sign was on the horizon when you were born. So, besides the big three, the next part of the language is the signs. These are elemental. The signs are actually made of four basic elements: fire, earth, air, water. What most people don't know is that each element has three different modes of expression. These different modes are what gives the sign its specific characteristic and part of what makes each sign a unique archetype. The life cycle of each element is cardinal, the ignition or start, the most primal aspect of the element. Next is fixed. This is the part of the element that doesn't change. Take fixed earth, for example. They are earth and they are not about to change that for anyone. Momentum is hard to build, but once it's going, fixed earth will not stop. Think of the impenetrable shield. Lastly, we have the mutable aspect. This is the part of the element that is least like itself. This is because the mutable part of an element is always on the brink of changing into something else. Take the mutable aspect of water, Pisces, for example. This is the part of water that is almost bored with itself and therefore is always trying to be like the other elements. That's why Pisces is associated with like chameleons. They easily blend in with other things. This is why all the mutable signs are known for being unique and hard to pin down, like Gemini or Sagittarius. Okay, so now with the basics out of the way, we can start speaking with the language of the gods. Like I said before, this is a language of change, philosophy, and of nature. Anything that is changing, natural, or metaphysical, we can use astrology to dissect and understand. To give you a few examples, existence is a matrix of fractaling patterns, and astrology can help us recognize these reoccurring patterns. Humans are microcosmic beings that reflect the macrocosm, or the universe. So by understanding the universe, you can understand the self. Each human is an organ within the body of humanity and has a specific teleological role to play in humanity's evolution as a species. These are just some of the ways we can start using astrology to talk about things. The first practical use, okay, is self-transformation. Yes, using astrology to understand yourself is valid. However, thinking of the signs as static images and not active processes will only stifle your ability to grow and mature. That is why it's better to start using astrology as a way to transform and grow. How we do this is by transmuting negative aspects of self into dignified ones. Basically, we want the attributes of the opposite sign that we are having problems with. It's not always exactly like that, but that's a good way to start. First example. For instance, hypothetically, let's say I have a hard time being on time, which I definitely do not have a hard time doing that. That is definitely not something I struggle with. This can be caused by so many things, even some that are out of our control. But let's say it's because I am too focused on something once I get started and I don't pay attention to the time passing. You could say my problem is mutable Earth, Virgo. This sign tends to be detail oriented and may have a hard time seeing the big picture, as well as being heavy and slow, making switching tasks hard to do. I would probably balance this energy with cardinal air, Libra. Libra is all about balance of opposites, communication, and travel. The mobile and considerate energy of Libra is perfect for the more wishy-washy, slow-moving, mutable Earth Virgo. Not to pick on Virgo, great sign, love it. But the like travel, communication, the airy aspect of Libra is perfect to balance this out. Okay, second example. This same problem might be caused by not having enough energy as opposed to more awareness, which we'd fix with air. In this case, we'd want to bring in the mutable fire of Sagittarius. Sagittarius, like Libra, has an airy quality, and this makes them great planners while also having the energy to point in multiple directions. Hopefully, this gives you an idea that there are multiple ways to fix one problem, and as the old saying goes, there's more than one way to eat a cat. The work of transmuting one element from another is personal to you, but identifying the problem is half the solution. So don't move too fast when coming up with solutions. Focus on the work and don't get bogged down with all the terminology. Let's talk about some of the tools for transmutation and actually getting the process of change going. Change is natural and always happening, even if you don't see it. These things take time. However, there are things you can do to quicken the natural process of change. The first is to meditate on the element you want to be more like and really try to feel that elemental energy fully inhabiting your body, while also letting go of the element you don't want. Journaling about the problem can also help you recognize attitudes in yourself that are holding you back. Each sign has an attitude or energy that it brings to the table, and these energies express themselves through us, so becoming aware of these attitudes is a big step forwards. Practical use 2, understanding the wants of others. Here's the general theory. Another really neat use of astrology is understanding the people around you more clearly. If you have autism, then understanding the emotions of those around you can be even more difficult, and having a system to use makes relationships that much easier. Trust me on that one, personal anecdote. Okay, so this is where we get back into the big three, and you can use this to understand yourself as well. People have one, the moon, emotional reactions. They are either drawn or repelled by things. Two, the sun, goals or desires that drive them to do what they do. And three, humans want to express themselves to others in a way that is comfortable. If you can understand people from each of these perspectives, you will have a much easier time communicating and building close, functional relationships, even with people you wouldn't normally get along with. Okay, so the sun. Let's take, for example, cardinal Earth. This would be Capricorn. The ego of cardinal Earth wants to feel appreciated for their hard work and strength. Knowing this, if you have a Capricorn coworker, you'll know that showing your appreciation for their efforts is a way to build rapport and camaraderie. And because you are noticing their skill or strength, they'll be more likely to help you in the future because they can see you appreciate and understand them. This is because people want to be appreciated for who they are and what they have to give the world. There's no point in using a fork as a spoon, and people are exactly the same way. Next example of understanding other people is through the moon. The moon is our emotional reactions, and understanding how someone reacts to their likes or dislikes is a big step in understanding that person. Again, we're not talking about just what they like or what they don't like, it's their reaction to those things. Let's look at fixed water, Scorpio. Shout out to all my Scorpios out there. The fixed aspect of water is the ocean. Water itself is very malleable and flowing, but the ocean has reached its level and isn't really going anywhere. In that way, it's a lot like Taurus, stubborn. That being said, there are two sides to the ocean, the surface and the depths. If we apply this to emotional reactions, we could say that Scorpio can hide what they are really feeling. You might see one reaction, but internally something else entirely might be going on. Again, you have that surface expression and then the deep emotions that are happening under the surface. And this is why Scorpios tend to have a mysterious aura around them. Scorpio moon might listen to music to escape the hectic surface of their emotions and move closer to their emotional center. The fixed aspect of Scorpio can also have a hard time warming up to new people or places and need time to adjust. This is why Scorpios tend to come off as, either shy or kind of like they have a chip on their shoulder. Knowing this will help you understand Scorpio moons aren't just jerks with chips on their shoulders, but they have deep emotional experiences and take time to adjust to new circumstances and may need time before opening up about what they really think. So if you have a Scorpio friend, being too pushy with an idea, or if you're just introduced to them, trying to like go all head in and push yourself on them probably isn't the best approach. In some instances, a Scorpio moon will use their temper to deal with difficult situations because they feel that that is the most effective in getting how they feel across. I think this is because Scorpios tend to not feel like their inner emotions are easily expressed. And so by, blowing up and letting the, surface of the water boil, they can feel like that's how they feel like they're heard. But that's just my understanding of Scorpio. The third example of practically using astrology to understand others is through the ascendant. The ascendant is like the persona. It's how you come across the first time people meet you before they get to know your moon or sun. I think the biggest benefit in understanding the ascendant, at least when dealing with other people, is that you will be able to understand their broader relationship to society. Let's look at fixed air, Aquarius. Just like Scorpio, it is a bit of a contradiction. The fixed aspect of air, which is always moving, also has a strong element of stability. When looking at Aquarius's relationship to society, we can see the push and pull between the individual and the individual's responsibility to the group. Aquarius Ascendant respects the individuality of everyone, but also recognizes the part that each individual plays in relationship to the whole. Even if personally they might not care about being a part of any group or movement, when you first meet them, you will get the sense that they view the world from this dichotomy. The third practical use of astrology is the purpose of things. Everything has an elemental and therefore zodiacal attribution. Knowing this, we can understand that any event, project, or group or item has a dominant function. The Mona Lisa is a dominant fixed earth, Taurus energy, as opposed to Pepsi, the soda drink company, which has a very Aquarius energy. Knowing what energy you want an event or piece of art to express is going to help you focus its meaning and help it fulfill its purpose. If you make a piece of art that is trying to instill a sense of awe, even fear, Scorpio might be a good mood to bring in, even if you're not, literally drawing a scorpion or the ocean, bringing in that energy the way you know how to, the way you'd express it, is a great way to focus the purpose of your art, as opposed to Taurus, which is a very Venusian, very earthy, loving, nurturing nature kind of energy. Uh, Again, giving the example of the Mona Lisa, this natural beauty is going to express itself through that piece of art. Learning and using astrology is very fulfilling, and it has a lot of practical applications that most people don't really recognize or think of. I think astrology in today's world has become too like pop culture. It's like, ooh, I'm Pisces, or I'm a really popular one is Gemini. Everyone's like, people, it inflates their ego because they feel like they can attribute those signs to themselves, and then that makes them feel better, or they feel like it's an excuse to behave a certain way instead of taking their responsibility for who they are and what they are. uh, Even if it's not your fault for being who you are, you still have to be the one to take responsibility for that. In this guide, we only covered the basics. However, what has been shown here is more than enough to get you started, not only learning astrology, but also using it in your day-to-day life. I didn't cover some of the more magical aspects of astrology, like ceremonial magic or witchcraft, because they are not directly related, and you can totally use astrology without ever getting into any of that. That being said, there's so much more to be learned through the study of the stars and their movements, so please keep asking questions and never stop learning. Have an amazing life wherever you are, keep doing your best, and subscribe to show your support. I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.